It was a chilly, moonless night when I decided to make a late-night run to the supermarket. The dimly lit parking lot seemed eerie, but my hunger for a midnight snack was stronger than my unease. The fluorescent lights inside flickered as I entered, casting eerie shadows on the aisles. My footsteps echoed, the only sound in this desolate place. As I wandered through the empty store, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I quickened my pace, but the unsettling sensation clung to me like a shroud. I picked up some snacks, a carton of milk, and hurried to the checkout. That's when I first saw him. A tall, gaunt man stood at the far end of the aisle, obscured in the shadows. His eyes, two gleaming pinpricks, bore into me. Panic gripped my heart as I paid and rushed towards the exit. I stole a glance behind me, and he was gone, but I couldn't shake the feeling that he was still nearby as I stepped into the desolate parking lot. A frigid gust of wind made me shiver. I fumbled for my keys, heart pounding, and unlocked my car. The engine roared to life, but just as I felt a semblance of safety, a figure emerged from the darkness. It was him, the sinister stranger. He was inches from my car. A sardonic grin stretched across his pale face. I slammed my foot on the gas pedal and sped away, my heart racing. The relief of escaping him began to fade as I approached my home. My hands trembled as I unlocked the door, and my pulse quickened when I found it slightly ajar. I entered cautiously, the fear intensifying with each step. The lights flickered, and in their eerie glow, I saw him again. The stalker from the supermarket stood in my living room, his grin now a sinister snarl. In a voice like gravel, he whispered, "I've been waiting for you." I backed away, unable to take my eyes off him. The realization hit me like a sledgehammer. He knew where I lived. This was no random encounter. He had followed me, and now he was in my home. With a burst of adrenaline, I made a run for the front door, but he lunged at me. His icy fingers brushed my shoulder, and I slipped through the door, slamming it shut and locking it behind me. My phone was inside, and I had to get help. I raced to a neighbor's house, and they called the police. The officers arrived swiftly and searched my home, but the stalker was gone, leaving only a chilling reminder of his presence. The police never found him, and I lived in constant fear, forever changed by that night. My advice to you is simple. Trust your instincts. If you ever feel like you're being watched, take it seriously, and don't hesitate to seek help. Your safety is paramount, and it's better to be cautious than to endure the terror I experienced that night. As I stood alone in the dimly lit aisles of the great American supermarket, the only sounds that broke the silence were the faint humming of fluorescent lights and the occasional squeak of a shopping cart. It was the graveyard shift, and I, a weary restock worker, had grown accustomed to the eerie solitude. But that night, something was different. The shelves, half empty, beckoned to be filled. I pushed my cart, the wheels creaking in protest, and began stacking cans of soup. The chill of the freezer section sent shivers down my spine, but I paid it no mind. That is, until I heard the softest whisper of footsteps. I halted, holding my breath. My heart raced as the footsteps grew closer, the sound echoing through the empty store. My eyes darted around, scanning for any sign of an intruder. I gripped the handle of my cart, my knuckles turning white. Then, from the corner of my eye, I saw a figure, a shadowy silhouette, hunched and shuffling. Panic seized me as the figure drew nearer. My fingers trembled as I reached for my phone to dial 911, but the battery was dead. I was trapped. The intruder stepped into the feeble glow of the aisle's overhead light. My stomach churned with horror. It was a man, his face concealed beneath a tattered hood, his eyes hidden in shadow. In his hand, he clutched a rusted, serrated knife. The man made no sound, but his malevolent intent was clear. I had to act fast. I dropped my phone and pushed my cart toward him, the clang of metal on the linoleum floor echoing through the store. The intruder lunged, and I dodged just in time. The knife sliced through the air, narrowly missing me. Desperation fueled my sprint down the aisle, my heart pounding like a jackhammer. I needed help, and the store's exit was my only salvation. I burst into the main corridor, gasping for breath. But the nightmare was far from over. The entire supermarket was alive with movement. A legion of shadowy figures emerged from the darkness, surrounding me. Panic and fear gripped me as they closed in. Suddenly, the store's intercom crackled to life, and a chilling voice resonated through the speakers. "Welcome to the night shift, where nightmares come to life." Laughter, cold and menacing, echoed all around. I awoke in my own bed, bathed in sweat. It had all been a horrifying dream. I sighed with relief, the nightmare fading like mist in the morning sun. But as I turned on the TV, a news report caught my attention. Great American supermarket night shift worker found dead. Police investigating bizarre circumstances. The advice I offer you, dear reader, is to always trust your instincts and never underestimate the power of a vivid imagination. The line between reality and dreams can blur, and sometimes the most chilling horrors are the ones we create in our own minds. The dimly lit supermarket buzzed with the soft hum of fluorescent lights as I embarked on my nightly restocking shift. Cardboard boxes were strewn about, waiting to be emptied and their contents neatly arranged on the shelves. I had become accustomed to the solitude of the graveyard shift, the eerie silence broken only by the occasional creak of shopping carts and the rustling of my own footsteps. I moved through the aisles, stacking cans and arranging products, all while my unease steadily grew. A sense of being watched clung to me like a second skin. My eyes darted, scanning the shadows, but there was nothing, just the usual products in aisles, eerily quiet. As I approached the canned goods section, I noticed a tall, lanky figure standing amidst the towering shelves. A man dressed in ragged clothes, with matted hair that hung over his eyes. His pale, gaunt face was a mask of dread as he stared at me, unmoving. My heart quickened, and I managed to stammer, "Can I help you, sir?" But there was no reply. His eyes never left me. The tension in the air thickened, choking me. I decided to move on, chalking it up to a lost soul seeking shelter from the cold night. Yet with every turn of a nail, he was there, always closer, always watching. Panic gnawed at my insides. How was he always one step behind me? I rushed to the store's exit, but it was locked from the outside. Trapped in the supermarket, the man's presence growing ever more ominous. He inched closer with each encounter, his gait unsettlingly unnatural. Finally, cornered in the stockroom, I confronted him. "Who are you? What do you want?" His voice was a chilling whisper, sending shivers down my spine. "I need to find her. She mustn't leave." The situation took a sinister twist. I was the only one here. Who did he mean? He lunged at me with inhuman speed, and I bolted, my pulse racing. The chase continued through the labyrinthine aisles, each one a never-ending nightmare. Just as I felt his icy fingers graze my shoulder, I spotted the one door I hadn't tried, the freezer room. I hurled it open, diving inside, and slammed it shut behind me. My heart pounded, and my breath came in short, panicked gasps. I shivered in the sub-zero cold, but remained hidden as he searched the aisles, whispering my name. The ordeal felt endless. Hours passed before I dared to leave the freezer. The supermarket was silent, the man nowhere in sight. As I made my escape, I realized something chilling. He had called my name, knew I was here. Who was he, and how had he come to haunt this place? My advice to you, dear reader, is to trust your instincts. When you sense danger, don't dismiss it as imagination. And if you ever find yourself stalked in the aisles of the unknown, pray you find a way to escape the darkness that lurks in the corners of the night.